Hello everyone and welcome to this new tutorial. Today we're going to be talking about blend shapes or morph targets as they are known inside Unreal Engine and other software. So what we're going to be doing here is to first show you how to create blend shapes inside Houdini. Then we're going to export those blend shapes inside Unreal Engine. And once we have those blend shapes inside Unreal Engine, we're going to see a method to take those blend shapes inside Unreal Sequencer to animate the expressions of our character. So let's begin. Okay, so what are blend shapes or morph targets? Blend shapes or morph targets is an animation method where you have different variations of the same mesh and use them. You create a setup to transition between the different variations of the same mesh. So in this case, we are going to have 4 different expressions from the same character, which I have created in Make Human. If you don't know that software, it's a free software to create humanoid characters. So we have this basic expression. We're going to create a blend shape to transition to this angry-like expression, to this blink expression, and finally this creepy smile. Now, since these are variations of the same mesh, they have the same poly count. So this face mesh has 57,748 polygons, and this creepy smile, this angry expression has 57,748. And if we check the third one, the blink, it has exactly the same poly count, and the fourth one, once again, has exactly the same poly count. Now, this is the first and main requirement for any blend shape in any software. Since these are variations, as I said, of the same mesh, they need to keep a consistent poly count. Otherwise, it's going to be a complete mess. Now, in this case, since we're going to be doing this in Houdini, I'm going to show you what I did when I imported these models. So first, I imported this model as it was exported from the Make Human software. I unpacked it because if you check this, usually when you import FBXs from other software, they come as packed polygons, so you have to unpack it. So I unpacked it, I added a normal. Since this was a very low resolution mesh, I decided to tweak a few things that were kind of out of place. Then I merged everything back. I scale the character to be at a human scale, and that's it. Then I created this out node so I can reference it later when I create the blend shapes. If you check the networks, they're exactly the same. So I did exactly the same process for every mesh. Okay, so let's go back to object level and let's create a new geometry node. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is to import, object merge. We're going to import every single model that we have edited. So this is the base one. I'd like to have one. I'm going to call it vase because I'm going to be later referencing this same name. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to call this one angry. And I'm going to link it to the angry model. Let's create another copy. I'm going to call this one blink. And I'm going to reference the blinking expression. And one final copy. This one is going to be called smile. And I'm going to link it to the smile. Now, the vase mesh, which is the first one, right? The main expression, the neutral expression, let's say, is going to be, as I said, our base, and then we're going to apply these 3 different blend shapes. So we're going to work first on this one, and then we're going to add these expressions. So the first thing that any blend shape needs inside Houdini is a name. So we're going to create a name attribute. The name isn't important, it just needs to have a name. So for example, in this case, I'm going to call it man. As I said, it doesn't matter. Now we're going to take these three different expressions and blend shapes, and we're going to add a merge pact. Why do we need to add a merge pact? Well, the reason is very simple. When we add these expressions to this base mesh, we will need a character blend shape add node, and the character blend shape add node needs the expressions to be packed before. So that's the reason we're creating this. Now, the other thing is that this merge pack node creates a name attribute for every mesh that we have added. So you could have, like, let's say 20 different expressions here, and it picks the name of the file, it picks the name of the node, sorry. So for example, this first one is going to be assigned the angry name, the blink expression is going to be added, the blink name, and so on, right? Now, the other thing that any blend shape needs inside Houdini is a skeleton. Now, this character isn't rigged, and ideally you will have a full rig that you can reference here, but in this case, since we don't have one, we're simply going to create a line and we're going to use it as a skeleton. So let's create a line. And I don't know if you guys have any experience rigging before inside Houdini, but this line isn't anything or isn't a proper rig unless you add a rig doctor node. So let's add a rig doctor. And this still isn't anything unless you initialize it. So now this rig doctor node is initialized, and this line is going to be the rig of whichever object we assign it to. Now, to be able to add this, as I said, we will need to add a character blend shape add. So character blend shapes add. Now, this one, as I said, it needs a base mesh, and it needs a packet blend shapes. So we already have the packet blend shapes, right? So hypothetically, our character already has the blend shapes, right? But the thing is that we cannot see them unless we visualize them through a character blend shapes node. So let's add a character blend shapes. Character blend shapes, right? So the character blend shapes need the rest geometry, which is our base geometry. It needs a rig pose, right? A capture pose, which is the main, let's say the main skeleton, right? So we're going to add the skeleton to the second input, and it needs an animated pose. But how do we animate this? We have just added this blend shape, but we don't have any animation. Well, that's a lot simpler than you may think. So we're going to create an attribute create. An attribute create, right? And what we're going to do is to create detail attributes named after every single blend shape. So remember, we named this as their expression, right? So this one is called angry. When we packed them, it picked that name. So this angry expression is called angry here. So when we added it here, the attribute, the blend shape attribute, is called also angry. So here in our attribute create, we're going to create a detail attribute. Sorry, let's visualize this in the meantime. We're going to create an attribute called angry. And as I said, it needs to be a detail attribute. We're going to add the other two blend shapes, which is going to be exactly the same process. We simply add another attribute. This one is going to be called blink. Remember, it has the same name, blink, right? Blink. And then this one is called blink. It has to be a detail. And let's add another one. Let's add the smile. Smile detail, right? So now we can plug this into the animated pose, right? So how do we confirm that our character has those blend shapes applied? Well, simply we come here to our attribute create, which we can call, let's say, animated expressions, right? And we simply add a value between 0 to 1 to whichever blend shape we want to apply. So for example, it's the smile one, we are going to apply 1, and the character is smiling, right? Let's test the blink one. Just add a value of 1, right? It's good. And let's test the angry one. So we add a value of 1 and it's working. You can even animate this. So for example, let's start here, the angry one, and let's go to frame 24, and let's add a value of 1. Let's play with the blink one. Let's add the value of 24, let's say 36. Yeah, the value of 1, right? Blinks. I'm simply adding like random keyframes so you can see that the expressions are working, right? And let's add another one. Let's test the one that we're missing, which is the creepy smile. Yeah. So let's add a smile at the end. 72, right? So that's it. That's how you add blend shapes to a character, or, you know, for that matter, to any mesh inside Houdini. Now, how do we export this? Because we have this, but we want to use this character inside Unreal Engine. No, to do that, we're going to use a ROP FBX character output. Now, this one has 3 inputs. It needs the rest geometry, which is our base geometry. It needs a capture pose, or the skeleton. So we come here to the rig doctor and plug it to the second input. And it needs the animated blend shapes, or the animation itself, right? We added a few keyframes here, so I'm going to make sure to eliminate those. So delete the channels. Let's delete all the animation. Let's delete all the animation. So the blend shapes are contained here, right? And we're going to add those in the animations input. So now we have this, right? And all you have to do is to pick a folder and export your character. So let's call it blend shape man. Let's save it. This thing is going to throw a warning. The reason for that is that we don't have weight maps or anything. So it throws an error, but it should export as normal. So don't worry about that. All we have to do now is to take this model into Unreal Engine. So I'm going to launch the software and I'll see you there. Alright, so here we are in Unreal Engine and we're going to import our model. So I have already created a folder to add my models here. So all I'm going to do is to right click, come here to import game assets. I'm going to look for my file, which is called Blend Shape Man. I'm going to open it. I have already set some import defaults, and in this case, if you haven't checked, you have to make sure that you have a skeletal mesh, because when you check the skeletal mesh, you get the option to import morph target. So make sure that you have both of these checked, skeletal mesh and import morph targets, and then you can import all. Let's give it a minute. It's going to import everything. All right. So, okay, let's close this. It's going to throw us a couple of errors, and the reason for that is because we didn't assign probably smoothing group, because we don't have any weight maps and all of that. So don't you worry, most of this have to do with the settings we use to export from Houdini, but they won't affect whatever we are going to do here. So you can clear this and continue. So let's check that our model has everything we need. So we're going to check our skeletal mesh, double click in it, and if you check your skeletal mesh to the right, you'll see that there's a morph target list, right? So we have the angry expression. So if we move this slider, we'll see that it has the expression, the angry expression, the blink, right? And the smile, right? Okay, so that seems good, but we still cannot use this inside a sequencer. So before we move ahead to create a new sequence, I'm going to fix the textures of this character. That's probably going to be a little bit tedious. So I'm going to skip that part. So I'll work on this in a minute, and I'll get back to you. All right, so here we are again. Here's my model. I simply added a couple of textures. This isn't crazy texturing, but I like it better than the gray one. So, okay, let's continue. So in order to be able to use the morph targets that we have here in our model inside sequencer, we need to create an animation blueprint containing these morph targets and expose them, as I said, in the sequencer. So let's do that. So let's select our skeletal mesh, right click, come here to create animation blueprint. You can create it. You can name it ABP, which is a convention for animation blueprint. And I'm going to call it blend shapes. Okay. So once you have that, you double click on it. And it's going to send you automatically to the animation graph, but we want to work in the event graph. So let's do that. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to look for a node called set morph target. Set morph target. Okay. And we're going to copy the name of our morph target into the set morph target node. So come here, Control V, and now this value you promote it to a variable. Now this variable is going to be the value exposed in sequencer. So let's give it a name. We can paste the name of the morph target once again, and all you have to do is to make sure that it's set as instance editable, exposed on spawn, and exposed to cinematics. Now this same setup has to be set for every single morph target that you have. So let's do it again. Set morph target. Right, we're going to plug it here. We're going to look for our next morph target name. names have to be precise, otherwise Unreal is not going to be able to find it. So I'd rather copy it than simply type it by memory. So blink, right click, promote to variable. Let's copy the name. Instance editable, exposed on spawn, and exposed to cinematics. Okay, so now we have the angry and blink morph targets. Let's add the last one. Set morph target. Let's plug it. Let's look for our names called smile, copy names. Control V, paste it. Promote to variable. Okay. Let's paste the name once again. Instance editable. Exposed on spawn and exposed to cinematics. Alright, so all we have to do now is to compile this. Compile and save. Okay, so we are back at our level and we need to switch from this skeletal mesh to our animation blueprint, which is the one that contains all our blend shapes. So let's delete this one and throw the animation blueprint into your scene. Okay, so now let's create a sequence. So add level sequence. I'm going to look for my blend shapes tutorial. Okay, now we can throw this into our sequencer. Add actor to sequencer. And all we have to do now is to come here to the animation blueprint plus skeletal mesh component. Then select the skeletal mesh component 0 and add the anim instance AVP blend shapes, which is the one that contains the animation blueprints that contains our blend shapes. And then you come here once again to the track and you will find all your morph targets available in the sequencer so you can animate them. Now, there's a little problem. If you try to animate this, you will see that despite having the animation blueprint ready and having these values available in your sequencer, you will not be able to animate them. And that's because there's one more step to take. So let's do that. You'll have to select your animation blueprint, and then here in the details panel, you're going to type update. And down here, if you scroll down, you will find an option called update animation in editor, which is unchecked by default. So once you check it, your morph targets will be available to be animated. So let's try them all. Go. Let's open the eyes back up. This is not the greatest animation in the world, but this is just to show you how it's done. Let's dial this one back. Okay, so here you go. That's it, guys. This is how you can create a couple of blend shapes or morph targets inside Houdini. You also learned how to take those blend shapes into Unreal Engine, and now you know how to use those morph targets in Sequencer. So I hope you guys liked it, and let me know if you have any comments or questions, and see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.